The first game at SoFi Stadium, certainly not how they imagined it, but still an incredible sight as the Rams host Dallas tonight in prime time. The Cowboys debut Mike McCarthy as their head coach. He'll be paired with fifth-year quarterback Dak Prescott, who will play on the franchise tag after he and the team couldn't reach a long-term deal. Still getting around $31 million a year, okay? So he's not roughing it. But Dak will try to solve a Rams defense that's led by a real problem. Aaron Donald, who has the most sacks in the NFL over the last 2 seasons, and Jalen Ramsey, who became the highest-paid corner in NFL history on Wednesday. Ed Werder knows all about it, and he is in Inglewood outside the stadium with the very latest. What can you tell us, Ed?
Actually, Sam, we got early access to this visually stunning $5 billion stadium where tonight Dak Prescott begins the season with a Super Bowl winning coach and arguably his most talented Dallas team yet. It's been a fascinating week covering the Cowboys as Prescott publicly detailed for the first time the anxiety and depression that engulfed him this offseason, one in which he felt isolated because of the pandemic, but also grieved the loss of his brother Jace to suicide. He overcame it in time with professional counseling and through the support of teammates and coaches, some of whom I'm told prayed with him and even wept with him. Michael Gallup reached out. One of his brothers died from suicide in 2018. Prescott described himself as a people person, someone who feels a powerful urge to lead and inspire others. He certainly has that opportunity here tonight. And Sam, perhaps the prevailing tone of optimism from Prescott that we heard as he begins this season, one that starts against the Rams and Jared Goff, the first quarterback chosen in the same draft where the Cowboys took Prescott 135th. Keep in mind, Sam, Dak has that number tattooed on his right wrist for motivation.
Yeah, he certainly got all the motivation this year, that's for sure. But guys, look, I'll be honest. I may be a little bitter. I did pick the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl last year. Okay, and it just feels like it's the same old story every year. Because what do people do? Adam Schefter's picking the Cowboys in the Super Bowl this year. Oh, Matt's picking the Cowboys. Every year it's like, hey, they got all the pieces. Look at the talent they have. They should be amazing. And then every year, womp, womp, same old story. What's different this year, Teddy?
Yeah, you fall in love with all the shiny toys they got over there, but then that makes you overlook the substance. And in the past, we've all talked about here about the problems with Jason Garrett and his decision-making in critical games or coaching or anything like that. It seemed like Jason Garrett was the scapegoat. Okay, well, Jason Garrett's gone. All right. You, like Ed said, you got your Super Bowl winning head coach there now. So where are the excuses except for now on the players? Because pretty soon, if they continue to fail, you start looking at this team as, wait a second, maybe it wasn't the coaches at all, and these are just players that just can't get it done when the game's on the line. And that's what happened last year. Bottom line, was it Jason Garrett in those fourth quarter situations where they couldn't get a touchdown, failing over and over again? No, it was Dak. It was the offense. But then here we go. You got your coach, Hasselbeck. You got everything's great now, so let's see if they can do it.
But here's the thing. This is why I like them this year. There's a fine line. As we all know, there's a fine line between winning and losing in the NFL. Last year, the Dallas Cowboys were 1-6 in one-score games. They're in the wrong side of that fine line. Only the Cincinnati Bengals were worse than them last year at that. So they don't have that far to go. They really don't have that far to go. So it's going to be Kellen Moore and Dak, just like it was last year. Maybe like a good, hard look at everything. And then you've got the X factor. The X factor this time is Mike McCarthy. What do I know about Mike McCarthy? Because he was my coach when I was with the Green Bay Packers.
Tell us.
He loves to run the ball. Yes, I know the stats might say he throws the ball a lot. He cares about the running game. He's not going to neglect Zeke. And I think having a year out sometimes as a head coach, you get that opportunity. It's almost like a sabbatical. You sit back and you look at the whole league, and he looked hard at Dallas. And I think he went into that interview with Jerry Jones and said, hey, listen, it's about Zeke. And if you can make it about Zeke, I know I can help Dak play at the level of guys that I coached elsewhere, Joe Montana, Brett Favre, the list goes on and on, Aaron Rodgers. So I do believe they don't have that far to go to get where they're trying to get.
I think it's very important, in this first month, if not the first 2 weeks of this season. It's important how Dak starts out, and the reason why, because you're going to hear all these stories of if he's hot, if he comes out, man, they need to pay Dak. But if they come out, 1-3, 0-4, well, I can see why they didn't give Dak that money. So I think for me, I think that Coach McCarthy, the addition of bringing somebody in that really understands. You said it, Matt. He loves to run the foot mixed up for the last couple of years because of all the weapons that they have. But in all honesty, if you don't have Ezekiel Elliott in that offense, there's no Dak Prescott. So I think that Coach Mike McCarthy needs to really get back to the running game. And yes, Rex, we joked earlier about Dallas having all these weapons, but be able to understand how to use those weapons. Kind of like Arizona, they're running all these multiple wide receiver sets. Now let's flip it back to the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys has a lot of weapons like other teams, but you have to feature Zeke Elliott, and I think Coach McCarthy will be the man to turn that offense back to where we need it to be.
Yeah, and I look at it this way. Their offense wasn't the problem last year. They were #1 in the league. So what do? They go out and they draft C.D. Lamb. Like, if you're a defensive coach right now, you got to be like, you're pulling your hair out.
How's your goal to run the football when now you got all these?
By the way, this kid right here is absolute freak with the football in his hands. Look, we're showing him like going up, catching contested balls here. But the run after the catch is the best thing this guy does. But defending, you're right. All you guys are right when you talk about Ezekiel Elliott. You got to get him going first. When you get him going first, oh my goodness, you got Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup on the outside, 2,000-yard receivers, outstanding receivers, and you, by the way, you might have a better receiver with CeeDee Lamb than those two. Like, it is going to be, I tell you what, just like I want to punt, going against Kansas City, I want to punt going against Dallas.
Let me say this, with all those weapons at Dallas and all these other teams, one thing that those wide receivers better get ready to do in Dallas, they better block.
They better block.
That's one thing. If the coach is going to put 3 and 4 receivers packages out there, those wide receivers better come ready to block.
The nice thing to get off of blocking if you're a wide receiver is the RPO game. So everyone inside is running a run, and then the receivers get to run a pass. Like, oh, I did my assignment, coach. You don't have to block.
CeeDee Lamb's no doubt going to help Dak Prescott's stats. We know this. When you're talking about his contract, he's always going to be compared to that 2016 draft class quarterback. The guy he's playing today, Jared Goff, who got a long-term deal. Carson Wentz got a long-term deal. You look at Dak's numbers, he has more combined passing and rushing touchdowns, higher QBR, higher completion percentage in his career than either of those guys. And we'll get to see Carson Wentz in action today against the Washington football team. He's on the road in an early matchup at FedEx Field. Both NFC East teams facing some challenges before the season even starts. Ron Rivera, in his first game as head coach in Washington after 9 seasons with the Panthers, named second-year quarterback Dwayne Haskins the starting quarterback. And then Carson Wentz in his 5th NFL season, still looking for that first playoff win, but he's been really successful against these guys. The Eagles have won the last 6 against Washington. Time to bring in an old friend. Our Sal Palantonio is at FedEx Field with more. Sal, I'm looking for some familiarity, okay? It's been a weird summer. I need something I know I can count on. Please tell me you have a text from Doug Peterson.
Good morning, SP. Happy week 1. And yes, I did text Doug Peterson this morning. And I said, what did you say to your team last night about the challenge of playing your first game on the road in the pandemic? And he told them, we have to play together. No matter what happens, we've got to stick together. We've got to have good communication amongst ourselves. We've got to play smart, and we've got to be decisive. But let me get to some news. Starting Pro Bowl right tackle Lane Johnson is not going to play in this game. He had ankle surgery to clean out an ankle 3 weeks ago, limited in practice. As I reported on SportsCenter this morning, he came out to the field this morning, he checked out the ankle, and he was a little wobbly, and they decided to sit him in this game. So the starting right tackle for Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles will be rookie Jack Driscoll, making his first NFL start. So SP, Carson Wentz has got a completely reconfigured offensive line going for him today.
Sometimes it feels like that guy can't catch a break. Jeez, that is a rough start to the season. All right, I know Randy's going to say why you got to bring up old stuff, but let's take a look at our standings from last year.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Rex Ryan.
Where's
some
my
good guessing right there.
Where's my ring?
You get nothing for that, actually. Just a little pat on the back. Actually, not even that, because we're socially distant.